Now, let's join ace broadcaster Mamode Akuga as he takes us inside the Niger Delta.
Hello, and a warm welcome to the program. It's Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region. I'm your regular host, Mamode Akuga. In today's edition of the program, we begin with a look at the current political scenario in Rivers State, where some of the major actors in the suspended election are kicking against perceived injustice. Also on our lineup is a special report on Ogoni people's reaction to the federal government's transfer of the operatorship of Oil Mining Lease 11, otherwise known as OML 11, from Shell to the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC. Up next is another special report on a raging controversy surrounding the Valentine's Day looting of the Amnesty Vocational Training Center in Kayama, Bayelsa State. And finally, we wrap it up on today's edition of the program with a call on the Delta State government to immediately renovate the dilapidated Okotiebo Primary School in Sapele, whose video went viral in the social media following an emotional outburst from a 7-year-old Success Adegor who was recently sent home for failing to pay levies from the school authority. Inside the Niger Delta, we'll be back after this time out. Don't go away.
Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, determined to make a difference.
Welcome back. More reactions have continued to trail the conduct of the governorship and state assembly elections in Rivers State, with the major contenders claiming victory even as the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is yet to officially announce the results of the March 9 polls. We now bring you a reaction of some Port Harcourt residents and the position of some interested parties in the Rivers State elections.
No person, no individual, no society can develop beyond what is not a level of knowledge. I tell you the truth, we don't understand what leadership is all about. We are here to eat up each other. It has to be turn A, turn B, okay, turn by turn stealing, turn by turn oppression. You know, it's very shameful. A whole nation as we are, Rivers State is the worst. How did it start? It started from somewhere. Okay, so we must think of how to stop it. It's not just about releasing a result. To release the result, to go and do what? To go and eat up each other. Are we taking leadership position because we love the people, or it's just about a party? I mean, it's really painful.
Honestly, this whole thing is confusing. I don't know why Rivers State's own is just different. Every other state have done their own government election and it's fair and good. So I don't know why Rivers State's own is so different.
I know that PDP won the election squarely. I don't believe in violence, and nobody will provoke us to be violent. We believe in due process. We believe that INEC is doing their best to follow due process, and that's why I picture all our people, even those who are getting agitated. I said nobody should be agitated. It will be a sweet victory at the end of the day.
Some of the unit results announced at the polling units in the local government area collation centers were not concluded clearly before the suspension of the process showed that I won over 15 local government areas. The INEC pleaded insecurity, violence, seizure of electoral materials for hoodlums, etc. as a reason for suspending the remaining stages of the election. I reject the reason given by INEC. The Commission does not have the power under the Electoral Act to suspend the election that already be concluded.
We closely monitored the March 9th governorship and state assembly elections, and we are alarmed by the treachery exhibited by the state INEC resident electoral commissioner, Obo Efanga, and his staff especially the admin secretary, Elder Etim Omo, who openly collaborated with incumbent Governor Nyesom Wike in trying to manipulate the governorship election in his favor, failing which Mr. Efanga had the effrontery to wrongly advise INEC headquarters to suspend a smoothly running election. We, the members of the coalition, true sons and daughters of Rivers State, and law-abiding citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, wish to state as follows: that the suspension of the election process was a well-orchestrated move by Governor Nyesom Wike and his co-conspirators, Obo Efanga and Elder Etim Emo of Rivers State INEC. That since the suspension of the collation of results in the state on March 10, 2019, the outgoing Governor Nyesom Wike and the Rivers State Resident Electoral Commissioner Obo Efanga have been rewriting and doctoring unit results already collated inside Rivers State Government House to favor Wike. That the clearly and openly compromised actions of Obo Efanga and Elder Etim Omo have made us lose confidence in them to complete the process, as this will be tantamount to Wike being also the umpire in his own election. Sequel to the aforementioned, we demand that the Rivers State Resident Electoral Commissioner Obo Efanga and the Administrative Secretary Elder Etim Omo be redeployed with immediate effect to forestall any foul play that will lead to making our dear state a theater of war.
Inside the Niger Delta.
Some Ogoni youths under the aegis of the Ogoni Youth Federation have described as shocking and insensitive the recent order by President Muhammadu Buhari to the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation NNPC to take over the operatorship of oil mining lease 11 from Shell Petroleum Development Company SPDC and resume exploration activities. They are particularly worried that the commencement of oil drilling activities without proper remediation of polluted sites in Ogoni land, as recommended by the United Nations Environment Programme UNEP, will spell doom for the communities.
President Buhari recently ordered the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation NNPC and its drilling arm, the Nigerian Petroleum Development Company MPDC, to take over the operatorship of OML 11 from Shell at a date not later than 30th April 2019. In a letter signed by his Chief of Staff, Abba Kyari, and leaked to the media, Mr. President also directed the NNPC to confirm its assumption of the operatorship by 2nd May 2019. OML 11 is located in Ogoniland and contains 33 oil and gas fields, making it one of the most important oil blocks in the Niger Delta. In over 2 decades, the greater part of the oil block has been lying fallow since Shell was declared a persona non grata in Ogoniland in May 1993. Over the years, the shutdown of the oil fields in Ogoniland has adversely affected the federal government's revenue drive, a situation that prompted previous governments to attempt a re-entry into Ogoni oil fields without success. The people's grouse with the federal government and Shell is that the communities have suffered untold ecological devastation since the inception of crude oil exploration in the area in 1958. Their plight was further worsened when the Ogoni struggle for an existence, championed by the late Ken Saro-Wiwa, claimed several lives and left the communities at each other's jugular. Owing to their considered sad experience with crude oil exploration, Ogoni youths are deeply worried that President Buhari did not consult the Ogoni people before issuing a directive on the resumption of oil drilling activities in the area.
The Ogoni people, whose ancestral land will be greatly affected by these directives by the presidents, weren't consulted in this old charade. And if any crisis erupts as a result of the desperate move by the federal government, MPDC, and NNPC to take over Ogoni oil, federal government, NNPC will be held responsible.
The disgruntled Ogoni youths take exception to the federal government's move to resume oil exploration in the ecologically devastated communities where it is currently involved in an environmental remediation exercise recommended by the United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP.
We are of the opinion as Ogoni youths that for OML 11 to start operation in Ogoni by NNPC, they should revise back and look at the previous things that have been laid down, such as the environmental UNEP reports, and ensure that that is being enacted.
So they need to clean the environment before they start the oil exploration. So that is our position. We are not against the oil exploration, but the needful should be done. Let them start it step by step.
At the invitation of the federal government under the administration of President Goodluck Jonathan, UNEP carried out an assessment of the extent of environmental pollution in Ogoniland following decades of crude oil exploration in the area. In its report, UNEP had observed that the level of ecological damage on Ogoniland was far more severe than previously imagined. It therefore recommended a systematic approach to the cleanup of impacted sites to restore the environment back to its full productive health. In its recommendation, the United Nations agency made it abundantly clear that the remediation exercise must kickstart with the provision of emergency measures to make sense out of the entire exercise. One of such measures is the provision of potable water, which is still non-existent in Ogoniland.
If the cleanup has commenced, why have we not gotten water to drink as recommended by United Nations? Why haven't our people been examined medically and be treated from cancerous diseases that is ravaging Ogoniland? Why has the Center of Excellence, why is it not in place? Why is the Integrated Contaminated Soil Management Center, why is it not in place? So there's nothing like cleanup whatsoever as far as we are concerned. Even the recommendations, the emergency measures, none has been dealt with. All what we see every day is rhetoric. The action of Mr. President has shown to the whole world that the government of the day is not ready. They are not interested on how to halt the killing in Ogoniland. They are not interested on how to restore the Ogoni ecosystem and environment. All they are interested in is how to come and extract oil from our land.
There is no potable water in Ogoniland. And you know how water is important to human beings. Our people are dying on a daily basis because of polluted water. We are drinking benzene according to the UNEP report recommendation. So there is serious need for that emergency measure before anything will be done in Ogoniland. I think that is the first thing that was supposed to be done.
Reacting to Shell's ouster from OML 11, sources at Shell Petroleum Development Company who spoke to Inside the Niger Delta confirmed knowledge of the memo in circulation in the media, but said they were yet to get any official communication from the federal government or NNPC. They said Shell would state its position as soon as it receives an official communication on the matter. While the final exit of Shell is considered a welcome development in Ogoniland, the distraught Ogoni people appear uncomfortable with President Buhari's investment of the operatorship of OML 11 in the NNPC, under whose supervision oil exploration in their land has spawned untold tragedies in the last 6 decades.
Inside the Niger Delta.
Overcome that blackout. Enjoy 24 hours affordable electricity without noise pollution or daily purchase of petrol or diesel. Invest in alternative power from Exalted Eagles Nigeria Limited. We stock high-grade, long-lasting solar panels, modern hybrid inverters, and rugged long-life batteries. We also have for sale solar-powered water heaters and water pumping machines. We also stock for sale large quantities of solar-powered street lights, security lights, and lanterns, as well as powerful voltage regulators and auto gate openers. We guarantee our products with reliable after-sales service at our maintenance centers. We have offices all over the Niger Delta, including Lagos and Abuja. For contacts, call Kinsley on 0806 388 7516 or Nick on 090 87 000 335. Exalted Eagles Nigeria Limited, your source for alternative power.
There was recently a twist to the vandalization and looting of the Amnesty Vocational Training Center in Kayama, headquarters of Kolokuma-Pokuma local government area of Bayelsa State, when protesting youths under the auspices of the Concerned Niger Deltans for Sustainable Development took to the streets of Yenagoa, calling for the sack of the coordinator of the Presidential Amnesty Program, Professor Charles Dokubo, over his alleged complicity in the incident. However, the allegation, which comes on the heels of widespread condemnation of the destruction of the Vocational Training Center, has been described by Professor Dokubo as a smear campaign. On the 14th of February this year, natives of Boro Town and their counterparts from neighboring communities raided the federal government's Amnesty Vocational Training Center located in the community. The marauding villagers reportedly overpowered security operatives stationed to protect the facility and carted away items procured for the training of unskilled youths in the Niger Delta. The Valentine's Day looting, which lasted several days, had reduced the training center to ruins, leaving in its wake expressions of shock and anger in the Niger Delta.
We condemn it in all entirety. I do not see it as a way forward, because in the Niger Delta we have suffered a lot, and this is also a setback because that program was supposed to increase and improve the livelihoods of the people, mostly around that community.
Coordinator of the Presidential Amnesty Program, Professor Charles Dokubo, over a fortnight after the incident, set up a 6-man probe panel to identify, arrest and prosecute the culprits. Those security operatives have arrested some persons in connection with the Valentine's Day looting. Some Niger Deltans expressed reservations about the delay in investigating the matter by Professor Charles Dokubo.
If such a project of monumental proportion that would have helped and galvanized, the development of this area and even kind of stemmed down the violent palpitations that we have in the Niger Delta, has been so vandalized, it should be a room to consign to all Nigerians, particularly the government, the presidency, and the Amnesty Office. Therefore, they ought to have acted with haste to set up a probe. 3 weeks was too much.
Protesting youths in Yenagoa were, however, of the view that Professor Dokubo was merely beating about the bush, insisting that the incident was stage-managed to conceal alleged fraud and non-existing contracts in the Amnesty Office.
Professor Dokubo directed the head of Boro Town Vocational Training Center, Mr. Jude Baboyo, to open the warehouse where supplied items are kept, and they arranged with hoodlums to cast away items previously supplied to cover up their fraud. The move is to enable Dokubo, his frontline men, and the Director of Procurement and other senior management staff in the Amnesty Office to claim that the 13 billion worth of supply items have been stolen by hoodlums. The looting of the facility lasted for 5 days with no police or military personnel present to stop the hoodlums.
They called on President Muhammadu Buhari to compel Professor Dokubo to resign his appointment to allow for an independent investigation into the looting of the Amnesty Office.
On February 14, 2019, Professor Dokubo drove along the east-west road and saw the looting of the facility. Source said the stakeholder who saw him pleaded with him to call the security. Instead, Dokubo drove away and went to Benin on the 14th of February 2019. We call on Mr. President Buhari to have Professor Charles Dokubo, coordinator of the Amnesty Program, step aside.
In his reaction, Professor Dokubo, who spoke through his media aide Murphy Ganagana, dismissed the allegation as baseless and intended to blackmail him.
For some group of persons to think that Professor Charles Dokubo, a scholar of an international repute, a scholar of international repute, to condescend so low to go and organize to loot items that the federal government spent millions and billions to procure for the empowerment of the people of Niger Delta. I mean, that is unfair.
Beyond the trading of words over the incident, the recent looting of the Amnesty Vocational Training Center is an indication that all is not well with the implementation of the Amnesty Program, as well as a reflection of an existing disconnect between the Presidential Amnesty Program and the communities it was designed to benefit.
What has happened has shown that there's a fundamental problem with the implementation of the program, and the executors of that program need to sit down and reassess and now know why, in the thick of when even young men are clapping, mobilize and go to Abuja to say we're doing well, then this kind of thing is happening. It requires self-assessment.
At the peak of the unrest in the Niger Delta, the federal government made an offer to repentant militants on June 25, 2009. Those who surrendered arms enlisted in the amnesty program under disarmament, demobilization and reintegration framework and became eligible for job training and a monthly stipend of 65,000 naira. While some have been trained and gainfully employed, others are yet to secure paid jobs but have the monthly stipend to depend on. The Presidential Amnesty Program in the Niger Delta, which was designed to terminate in 2015, has witnessed several reforms under the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari. Only recently, the program's coordinator, Professor Charles Dokubo, hinted that there's henceforth no terminal date for the amnesty program.
This is supposed to be a short-term program. But if you continue to expand, extend, elongate it, because it has become a patronage agency, becomes a patronage program, where people think that it is their own kind of, the boys call it a cocoa farm, because certain stipends come.
This situation is viewed by many as a confirmation of the fact that the amnesty program has become an instrument for the purchase of peace in the Niger Delta to guarantee the continuous flow of crude oil.
To maintain the peace in the Niger Delta, the provision of 65 billion naira for the Presidential Amnesty Program has been retained in the 2019 budget.
Over the years, the Presidential Amnesty Program has successfully reduced attacks on crude oil and gas facilities in the Niger Delta. But the region is still rife with violent crimes and agitations, as evident in the recent Kayama invasion. Most Niger Deltans will want the federal government to adopt a more holistic approach to the implementation of the program, to the extent that the non-violent actors in the Niger Delta are also involved in the program. The Amnesty Vocational Training Center in Borough Town, which was said to have got not less than 60 billion naira, was put in place to facilitate the entrepreneurship component of the federal government's amnesty program in the Niger Delta. Following this incident, most observers are yet to come to terms with the impression that the intended beneficiaries of the Vocational Training Center would willfully damage what ordinarily should be regarded as their own possession.
Inside the Niger Delta.
And now, before we go, we quickly take you to Sapele in Delta State, where 7-year-old Success Adegor had queried her school authorities for sending her home over unpaid exam levies. She preferred to be flogged rather than go home.
You never pay now.
I never been. Let me say I'm not going to pay. I'm going to push you back.
Okay, so you wait, but you better not me they flog you. Or they say me you go tell your mommy.
They flog me. They flog me.
Why they go flog
me?
you?
They flog. The can go tired. They go tired for flogging. They go flog. They go tired. And they say they stop. I tell they say I stop my body. And they say they stop.
Well, help has come the way of Success, as so many concerned Nigerians have already intervened, with some of them offering her scholarship up to university level. Well, our school is Okotiebo Primary School 1 in Sapele, Delta State. The school is named after Nigeria's former Minister of Finance, Chief Okotiebo, who was assassinated in the coup of 1966. The school is in such a bad state, with the roof threatening to cave in. The entire buildings in the school are so dilapidated that one cannot even rear pigs in the classrooms. The big question is, where is the oil-rich Delta State government? Yes, we know that the Delta State government runs free education at basic and secondary level, but must the government turn a blind eye when school authorities continue to charge fees and levies? Should the Delta State government allow the pupils in its schools to study in an environment that is not fit even for animals? Well, Delta State is an oil-producing state with 13% derivation and a monthly IGRO that is by far better than most states in Nigeria, save for Lagos and Rivers and maybe Kano. So where's all the money going into, if not into education? Sapele is also one of the 3 big cities in Delta State. Warri, Asaba, and Sapele. So if we can have a school like Okotiebo Primary School 1 in Sapele, then I really shudder to think what schools in the villages and riverine communities of Delta State would look like. In fact, where are the Delta State school inspectors who are supposed to inspect and certify both public and private schools? In fact, Little Success's description of a school, which he has now vowed to leave for a private school, is an indictment on Governor Ifeanyi Okowa and his government in Delta State.
I already tell us I will come for their daddy at Bako school.
We don't know better school. This weekend not going to kill me.
Well, Success says schools in Delta State are Bako schools. I think you know what that means. Well, Governor Ifeanyi Okowa, how can you allow this level of decay and rot in the school system in Delta State? States with far less funds are doing much better. Please, we plead with you to quickly turn this situation around so that Delta State can effectively equip its future leaders like Success Adegor with sound education. Also inside the Niger Delta, we'll be taking a special look at the educational system in Delta State and monitoring it very closely and bringing, of course, reports to all of you out there. Well, that's the size of our package in today's edition of the program. Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region will be back on this station same time next week. Do not forget to follow us on our social media platforms showing on your screen right now. On behalf of the production crew, I am Mamode Akuga, thanking you all for staying tuned. Bye for now.